Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Ask Carol Talk Show. It is Saturday, August 30th already. Saturday, August 30th, 2025. It's 2 p.m. here in the United States, and we're in a different time zone as some of us are calling all over the world. It's great to see you. We are going to get started with my rap. So, are you ready for my rap? Are you ready for my rap? Here we go now. Ask Carol anything, don't hold back. Real conversations on the right track. Real impact, no fluff, just fact. Ask Carol. And today we are asking Carol and we are asking our nurses, Nurse Morris and Nurse Mitchell. We are going to get right into it. So today we're talking about healthcare. Very, very important topic. Healthcare that is so need to be talked about. We're going to get right into it. So today our guest speaker nurses are, like I said earlier, Nurse Morris and Nurse Mitchell. So Nurse Morris. Who is Nurse Jordan Morris? We're going to find out on the Ask Carol Talk Show. So, Jordan Morris, nurse, is a dedicated nurse, a proud mother of four children, a supportive wife. She balances both her professional life and personal life with compassion and resilience. Her experience as a caregiver at home and in her career has strengthened her ability to multitask, adapt quickly, and approach every situation with patience and understanding. She has been in the healthcare field, excuse me, for over 10 years. That's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nurse Morris to the Ask Carol Talk Show. Nurse Morris, welcome to the Ask Carol Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are so welcome. So, congratulations on your journey on being a nurse, a field that I'm so passionate about because so many of us need help, so many of us need care, so many of us need healthcare. So, we
Mm.
are going to get right into it. So, Nurse Morris, can you describe your role as a nurse and how did you start your journey?
Well, my role as a nurse, I work at a long-term care facility, a nursing home, and I'm the full-time nurse, overnight nurse at a long-term care facility. And most of my job entail administering medication, treatments, injections, and care for the patients that I'm assigned to. And you said,
Awesome,
"Oh, my journey
awesome.
started." My journey
Yes, how did
started.
your journey started, Nurse Morris?
Well, it started back in 2014. After I had my son, I wasn't working for like a couple months, and then afterwards I was like, what am I supposed to get into after, being unemployed? So I
Yes.
started working as a caregiver, and then I got certified as a home health aide, and then from there I went on to be a CNA. So I was a CNA for a couple years. Then, encouragement from others and me wanted to move up in the field, decided that nursing is my pointer. So that's when I decided that this is my plan. This is where I'm destined to be.
This is where you are destined to be. I love that. And we love your destiny. We love your journey. So let me ask you again, Miss Morris, how do you build trust and rapport with your elderly patients? Because today we're going to primarily focus on
Mhm.
elderly care and alongside
Right.
with some other concerns. So how do you build trust and rapport with your elderly patients?
Well, most of the elderly patients that I deal with, they have dementia. So one of the things that I do for them is I show up for them. They'll be asking simple questions, like even it could be like a cup of ice or something. You just show up for them and always supporting them. And one of the also to listen to them. Because most of the people that care for them, they just come inside their rooms, they give them care, they don't really spend time with the patient. So to listen to them for that extra 3 or 5 minutes, just show that you care about not just the job, but about them, the person themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you use the profound word care because I was
Right.
told that nurses supposed to be caring, and that's very important. And we're going to get, you
Yeah.
mentioned dementia, Nurse Morris. We're going to get into that later on. But here's another question for you. Can you share a memorable experience that impacted how you view your work? That's a big one. I'll read it again. Can you share a memorable experience that impacted
Mhm.
how you view your work?
Well, there are many. There are many. Many memorable moments that I have, but one of the best things about the job is feeling appreciated by the members, family members, and by the person that you're caring for. When
Yes.
they tell you that thank you for taking care of me, you made me feel special, and you made my day, that just gives you like a drive to do more for them and to always show up and do more in your field.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Awesome. And guys, we're going to hop over to Nurse Mitchell. But before we get over to Nurse Mitchell, start putting your questions in the chat. Any comments or concerns or question that you have for our both nurses today. So we're going to hop over to Nurse Mitchell. So who is Nurse Lakeisha Mitchell? We're going to find out on the Ask Carol Talk Show. So Nurse Mitchell, she is a nurse and teacher at a public school, and she's also a registered nurse. She has a love for teaching and the impact it can have. She continues to inspire her pursuit for higher education and innovation in nursing. Along teaching responsibility, Nurse Mitchell practices as a registered nurse, like I said earlier. She has over 10 years of nursing experience. Her background includes long term care, addiction medicine, and home care. Both, above all, she is very passionate about education. Nurse Mitchell, welcome to the Ask Carol Talk Show.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. And we are going to get into the same question we asked Nurse Mars. How did your journey started? Tell us about
So I would
yourself.
love
What made you went into nursing?
so my journey actually all started my senior year in high school where I applied into a CNA program, and that got my feet wet as to what I wanted to do. And so seeing and our clinical site was in an elderly facility. And so I loved it so much that then I went to school and got my undergraduate and my associates and bachelor's in nursing. So having that experience at a young age really set the foundation for me, and then having a wonderful mentor in my high school year who was my teacher, and her name is Cheryl Hentz, and graduating in 2010 in that program, still to this day I would never forget her name. She is embedded on my heart, and she inspired me and mentored me, and it has been so significant in my life and where I'm at today.
What an amazing journey, and congratulations in the nursing field. It's such a field that is so needed in today. So, Nurse Mitchell, what are some of your responsibilities and challenges that you face in your nursing career?
So my so my responsibility. So I am also a community health nurse where I see patients from 18 and all the way up to the elderly, but most of the patients that I do see are elderly. And then teaching full time as a nurse, I have a lot of responsibilities, and I'll start with community health. So one of my major responsibilities is access to healthcare. I work with patients who have no insurance, may not have permanent residency. And so, what I do is I participate a lot in outreach and trying to get those patients in for preventative health. So, like immunizations, making sure they're following up with their physicals and things like that. So, I'm the person that's going to be at that phone making those calls when I know that we don't see them. So it's just really connecting with the community and making sure that they're getting the healthcare services that they need. So in the educational setting, my major responsibilities is grooming the younger population as I work in a high school in an allied health program. And my major purpose there is helping these children have access to healthcare and opportunity. And part of that is being a role model for them and help breed caring, compassionate, and competent healthcare professionals. So my purpose links to community health and education.
Awesome, awesome. Congratulations on all your achievement. We need your help. So here's another question for you, Nurse Mitchell. How has your view, you mentioned elderly care, which is why we're here today. We're going to talk about elderly care. So how has your view on aging and elderly care changed since you started working in the nursing field?
So my view on elderly care has changed because a lot of times, especially being that I had to gain my education in school, I tend to had my own thoughts on elderly. I thought that when we hit that stage in life, that at that point we kind of sit in it and accept our experiences, and then that becomes the ending story. But what
Mm,
I found in my career is that it doesn't end. I have seen nurses that retired and came back into retirement, and they volunteer in nursing homes. They're in the rec department, communicating and engaging with the elderly population. So I've learned that even though we age and our residents and our patients age, their story does not end. They contribute in so many different ways that is so impactful. So it's really important to see beyond myths and stereotypes when it comes to the elderly population. So that's something that I've learned in my career because I am right there in the forefront and I see it for what it is.
beautiful. Nicely said. I'm going to hop over to Nurse Morris and I'm going to ask that same question. How has your view on aging and elderly care changed since you started in your nursing career?
Well, most of the people, most of the elderly, they believe that they are still independent, so they refuse to accept changes.
Yes.
So, most of the time it's difficult to administer care to them because they don't think they need care. So, what changes mostly is apart from their independence, they have their mind set in their ways. So it tends to be difficult for the nurses and other caregivers around them. But also what I've seen changing for these past couple months, or like their health care, a lot of people I've seen going back to their home as well. A lot of
Mm.
people that was in healthcare long-term facilities, they're moving back home, trying to get
Why is
closer
that,
to
Nurse
family.
Morris? I'm
I
sorry to
think
interrupt.
because of
Why is
the
that?
way, in my opinion, I'm thinking it's maybe because of the way the healthcare is, the Medicaid, they're stripped from some of their their funding that they used to get to have them stay in facilities. So they're moving back with families, and some of them, they don't have retirement, so they don't have funds to stay in long-term care where they can have someone look after them.
Interesting, very interesting. Wow, we love our elderlies and we
Yes,
need
we
them to
do.
be in a situation where we know that they're taken care of. So, what is your view on the elderly going back home for reasons? Could be healthcare, could be financial. How do you view them going back home? Do you feel that they're safer at home?
I mean, they're not, some of them, they're not so safe going back home because, as I had said before, a lot of them think they're independence. They have that tendency to think that they can tell fetch for themselves. And when they're in their own home, they don't listen more rather than when they're in a facility. Because they're
Our
like, it's
elderly
my
just don't
it's
listen.
right, but it's my home. Don't tell me what to do in my house. Don't tell me that I can't go down the stairs, not knowing the risk of going down the stairs. So it's kind of like, if they don't have someone that's gonna stand on business with them, they're going to end up back in the nursing home anyway.
I love it. I love it. Beautifully said. I'm going to hop over to Nurse Mitchell. Our elderly just don't listen, but you know what? We love our elderly. So before we go into the chat, Nurse Mitchell, what is your take on that? And have you faced any challenges with the elderly?
So, yes, the biggest challenge I find is when they're cognitively impaired, and some of them are not aware of what they can do. And so I definitely agree that it could be very, very hard, especially with them being in their home versus in a nursing home where they're being supervised for 24 hours. But then at home, it's limited supervision. So just with that alone, they are also adapting to the changes of their disability, their physical disability, and then for some of
Mm-hmm.
them, they're adjusting to their mental function. So
Yes.
it's our job as healthcare workers is to promote independence, but when what we know what we have to do to keep them safe, it could be very hard for them because they have to adjust to the limitations that they have. So that's my take on that. Absolutely. It could be hard.
Good,
It's a
good
hard
stuff.
adjustment.
It is a hard adjustment for elderlies. Good, good, good stuff. We're having fun on the Ask Carol Talk Show. We're talking to our nurses, Nurse Morris and Nurse Mitchell. I'm going to have my co-host come on and let's see what's going on in the chat. I saw it going up earlier. Shay, what do we have going on in our chat for our nurses?
Hello. All right.
Hi, Shay.
So we do have some good questions in here. I was just skimming and reading. So our first question is from Carol, and this is to Nurse Mitchell. Uh, have you ever faced a challenge of someone being denied health care simply because they do not have health insurance? If so, how do you deal with such a challenge considering you have an ethical responsibility to the patient?
Good question.
So fortunately, I've never been in a predicament where I've seen a patient being denied healthcare. And the reason I could say is that is because I connect to facilities that promote access and inclusivity. And so the job that I work at in the community health center that I mentioned earlier, we take all patients with no insurance, um, any patient you could think of, and we meet them where they are. So if they don't have the funds, we have a sliding fee scale, and they might pay only $5 for a medication. So that challenge
Wow.
I've never had to face. And if I did face that, that would definitely be an experience for me because I would have to advocate.
Absolutely. And nurses are big advocates for elderly, and not only elderly, nurses are big advocates for everyone who is facing some kind of health challenge. Good stuff. Go ahead, Shay.
Okay,
Good
so we have
question.
another question from Carol, and I guess it can go to either one because she didn't put either one of your names on this question. So it says, in the UK, we have an aging population. People are living longer, and we struggle with our nurse workforce as we do not have enough nurses. Is that the same situation in the USA?
Good stuff. I'm going to toss it over to Jordan. Do we have a shortage in nurses in the United States here?
Yeah, I think there's a shortage of nurses because nurses are retiring, and most of the young nurses that are here, they don't want to work in a nursing home or they don't want to work in a long-term facility. They want to go in like the cosmetic because they're young people. They want to go in those type of field, working in the hospital as well, ICU and critical care unit. They don't want to work in a nursing home because they think that will burn them out and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a shortage of nurses.
We have to do something about that. And if we have anyone here in the Ask Carol Talk Show, if you're interested in the nursing field, sign up. We need our nurses. Good stuff. Go
Yes.
ahead, Shay.
Okay, so we have a question from Andrea Leslie. She says, "Hi everyone. My elderly dad is hospitalized. Physical therapists have suggested a rehab facility. What are some good questions to ask when considering a great facility for rehabilitation?
Good question. Go ahead, Nurse Mitchell.
So, oh, I'm sorry. Can you? I'm kind of having some technical difficulties. So, yes, the first thing
It's the
I would
Ask
do
Carol
when
Talk Show.
researching,
Real conversations, real impact. Go ahead.
yes. So, one thing that I would say you should do is look at the facility reviews. When you look at the facility reviews, you want to see the feedback that people are giving on that facility. And what you specifically want to look for is how are they doing on the Better Business Bureau? Have they had any citations? And citations is like, have they gotten written up for certain things? So you want to look for that because you want to make sure that the facility that you're deciding on is meeting a level of care and they're following a standard. So that would be the most important thing. And then taking a tour of that facility, seeing the space, seeing the rooms, seeing the bathrooms, seeing what actions they take when a patient's on an infection that has an infection. Are they following the appropriate protocols? So it's really, really important to really look at those reviews and see if they're in good standing with the state.
Good information. Very good. Do you have anything else, Shay, before we move on?
We have one last question right now, and this
Go ahead.
question comes from Sharon Smith. And Sharon would like to know, define dementia. How badly does it affect the elderly? For example, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2, 3 out of 10. What is the exact figure?
Good stuff. And if our nurses want to take that on, dementia, very
Can you
important to
I'm
our
so sorry.
elderly.
Can you repeat that question again, please? Thank
Sure.
you.
So Sharon would like to know, can you define dementia? How badly does it affect the elderly? For example, 1 out of 2 or 3 out of 10. What is the exact figure?
Okay. All right. I could answer that, Nurse Jody, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So dementia. So what dementia does, so Alzheimer's disease is the umbrella term for all for dementias. There are so many different dementias because dementia could impact different parts of the brain. So sometimes dementia goes unspecified. And what it looks like is mental changes, increased confusion. And then as it progressed down the stages, you start to see a decline where some dementia patients aren't eating and then they start to lose muscle control. And so I don't know the specific numbers, but I'm going to suspect that dementia is climbing because most facilities that you encounter have memory care floors, locked facilities for dementia patients. And the major challenge with that is safety because when I started as a nurse, we were able to use bed alarms, chair alarms for our confused patients who are high risk for falls. And now those are considered restraints and we can't use those. So dementia, it's really tied to a huge safety battle, especially when we don't have certain resources that we were trained to use that are now deemed to be restraining. I hope that answered the question.
That was, yeah, that was good information, Nurse Mitchell. And I think dementia in our elderly, I have seen personally, I've seen an increase in our elderly with dementia, which is going to ask me another question here. So, is dementia and Alzheimer's the same or they're similar? Um, are there any similarity between Alzheimer's and dementia,
So there are
Jordy?
similarities. Oh,
Okay, go
sorry.
ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead.
So there are similarities with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. They both impact cognitive function. But one thing that I do know, not specifically, but Alzheimer's disease is like the umbrella term to different types of dementias. So the dementia that one may have
Right.
depends on how it's impacting their brain function. Where exactly is it targeting in the brain?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Good,
just to
good.
piggyback off what she's saying, Nurse Michelle is saying, what I've noticed too is, normally they would say the elderly that have dementia. I've noticed a lot of younger people, and I say younger people that's in like the 50s are having dementia, and most of them that I realize that have dementias are patients that like have a history of strokes, that be having dementia. Because I have a few patients that are in their 50s with dementia symptoms, and I'm like, you know, the stigma was
That.
before that 70s and older normally have dementia, but now I've seen a lot of younger folks be having dementia symptoms.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. And I'm very concerned about that, which is going to bring us later on the Ask Carol show about care and your mental health. We're going to get into that. But I see there's a Minister Debbie, Dr. Debbie Miller Curtis. Raise your hand. You have a question, Dr. Debbie Miller Curtis? You're muted.
Muted.
Yes. Yeah, I was struggling a little bit to get it off mute. Jordian, you're doing very well. So proud of you answering the questions. Yes, I'm Dr. Debbie Miller Curtis, and I noticed two questions were answered, but not all the time we do have nurses available at our fingertips. So I wanted to just throw this out to the group. If we're not yet using Chat GPT, or any form of AI intelligence, you can ask, especially the lady with the nursing home that's looking for a nursing home or transitioning into a new nursing home, you can type the exact information around your father's circumstances, and Chat GPT will give you like the essential questions to ask concerning your dad, or any other questions, like if you want to find out the exact ratio of dementia affecting a certain age group, like Jordan mentioned, that we're even seeing it prevalent in the younger groups. And of course, mental health, anywhere where you have a lot of mental health situations, you can, it will affect affect you behaviorally. So again, any specific question that you have that you may not have a doctor at hand, or nurses or caregivers at hand to ask, remember, use your phone, download that app, Chat GPT, or any variation of the GPT or AI assisted help, to get those questions. Or if you see something showing up at night in your elderly patient, as caregivers as well, and you were not trained as to how to administer care, that you can get some information there as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Debbie Miller Curtis. Good information. And I am also a fan of Chat GPT. Thank you so much for that information.
That's what the
So we
nurses and
touched
doctors are using. Allegedly. Allegedly.
allegedly. Allegedly. I love that you threw that in. So yes, we're talking about healthcare, elderly and mental health. So Nurse Mitchell, what role does mental health play in elderly care and how it is addressed?
So, mental health plays a significant part in decision making, judgment, how one perceives their environment and life. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry, what was the second part of that question?
And how it is addressed. If a
And
patient,
how it's
elderly
addressed?
care, yes. If they're struggling
And
with their
how it's
mental health,
addressed,
how do you address that?
my mental health or our patients,
A
excuse me.
patient
Just
mental health. Actually, let's do both. Let's start with the patient mental health.
Yes. So addressing that, it could look different for many depending on what they're battling with. And so how we address that, I take in other experiences too, because we also have elderly who have addictions. And
Mhm.
we also have elderly who don't have addictions, where it's might be bipolar disorder, borderline personality. So our approach could be different. But the way it's addressed is using like therapeutic strategies, using a calm tone. If we see that there are certain triggers, eliminating certain triggers in the environment would be some strategies. So it really depends on what illness they're battling with and taking that approach with it. So, like with dementia patients, since we talked a lot about dementia, keeping their routines similar, eliminating so many options to like dress like clothing. So, like if you're going to assist them with dressing, you don't want
Mhm.
to give them five options because then giving them five options can overwhelm them. So,
Of
those
course.
strategies look different depending on the patient needs.
Good. And how about your mental health? How do you cope with your mental health and working with the elderly and patients on a whole, not only elderly, but your career and you're juggling your career, your home, your life. How is your mental health?
So, I'm going to be very, very vulnerable right now. It could be very, very hard being a single mom to one child and working full time. And it could be so hard because sometimes as nurses, and Nurse Jody probably will agree, in this career, you are taught to put your patient first, that patient centered care.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not easy letting go your encounters at work when you get home. And so I found that I had to figure out what my outlet was going to be. And what
Hmm.
that looked like is music therapy. I listen to a lot of music because what it does is it redirects my mind. I journal. And then also, I try to stay off my work email so I could disconnect from anything that brings me back to the encounter. So that's something that is still a work in progress for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Nurse Mitchell, for your service. I really thank you for your service in supporting the elderly and working in the healthcare. And we wish you good health, good luck. We're sending positive vibes to you. Here at the Ask Carol Talk Show, we don't judge. It's real conversations, real impact. Nurse Morris, I'm going to toss that same question to you. How is your mental health?
Well, mom, and hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. But you know what's important? Self-care. Self-care is important. So it could be easy as like going shopping, as long as you're by yourself where you can breathe and take a breath. So for me, my therapy is shopping. I shop online, I shop inside, and just find a 15 minutes of peace where you can just woosah with just that's how I deal with my mental health.
And we are hoots are with you.
Yes,
And when you're
yes.
going
And one of
shopping, go ahead.
No, I was saying that one of the most way we can do as well is sitting in the car. That 5 minutes when you get home and you sit in the car before you always the 5 minutes before you get into work, the 5 minutes after you get off work, sitting in the car and just unwind. That also takes a toll off your body, a toll off your mind, and lets you feel at ease.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nurse Morris, we thank you for your service and
Sure.
congratulations on your journey. You're so
Thank you.
needed in this healthcare field. And when you're going shopping, so ask Karen, ask Carol team, ask Carol team. So Carol wears a size 8 shoes, and Carol wears anywhere between a extra large and a little extra larger. So remember, ask Carol team when you're shopping. Thank
Definitely.
you so much.
Yes.
We're having fun at the Ask Carol Talk Show. We're talking to our nurses about healthcare and elderly care. Shay,
Mhm.
do we have anything going on in our chat?
We do.
Yes, go right ahead.
All right. So, Andrea wants to say thank you for the information. L'Oreal says, how do you deal with dementia patients that consistently bite you?
Oh, ouch. That's a good question.
Yes. Yes. You know what? Dementia patients, they tend to be very aggressive at times. And one of the things you can do is reassign yourself from that patient. That's one of the most important thing you can do, especially if it's a patient that constantly abuse you. You don't want to abuse them back. So reassign yourself. Speak with someone of your team administrator, let them know what's going on with the issue, reassign yourself from them, and you can talk to them as well, let them know it's not right, because sometimes they will listen, but you have to be calm with them even when they're being the aggressor,
Good
because their mind
answer.
is different. Yes.
Good answer, Nurse Morris. Shay, go ahead.
Well, you already answered one of Carol's questions about your mental health and how you deal with it. The second question is, what strategies do you use when a person with dementia becomes agitated or distressed?
Good question.
Redirection. Redirection. That's one of the most thing you can do with a dementia patient. Redirect them, because they don't know, you know. So some of them, their mind is not as sharp as it used to be, and they're not thinking what we are thinking. And even though
Mhm.
they may look normal to you, there's something going on in their mind that's telling them something. Their mind is blank. So redirection, one of the most important thing for dementia patient.
Good. Very good stuff. Go ahead, Shay.
DKG says, what are some early offset of dementia symptoms and how not to confuse it with other illnesses or diseases?
Good question. DKG, and just asked my question that I had. Nurse Mitchell, you want to take that one on?
Sure. So you typically see forgetfulness, memory. Forgetfulness is like the heaviest one. You start to see they're forgetting, and then eventually it starts impacting their daily life. But trying not to confuse it with other illnesses. Now, I'm going to have to say that's like medical. Uh, like a doctor will have to really explain the illness. So some symptoms can mimic other conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mhm.
could be very hard. So, like, for example, you might have someone in early dementia, but then they battle with chronic urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
And urinary tract infections can cause delirium, confusion. And so then you're thinking maybe, hey, it's their dementia. But
Mhm.
it's that's when we need more education and reinforcement from a medical doctor to really say, okay, this is why this is getting worse. This is why there's worsening confusion. But I would say is really getting to understand the conditions that that patient has and having the support by like a medical doctor to determine, is it a worsening condition versus is this their dementia? And that's just an example.
Good. Good stuff. Good stuff. Before we move on, Shay, are we seeing anything on our chat?
Just a couple thank yous. Minister Debbie said thank you. Thanks, Nurse Mitchell, for your vulnerability. DKG said, great job, Nurse Mitchell. And then Minister Debbie said, thank you, everyone. I have a translation. But it's a powerful form, the Ask Carol Short, and it's great information from Nurse Morris and Nurse Mitchell.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the compliment. And if you would like to support the Ask Carol Talk Show, our information, Shay, can you pop our information in the chat? If you like to support the Ask Carol Show, we need your support. So let's do a quick time check. 2:42. We have 18 minutes more on the Ask Carol Talk Show. So I'm going to toss this over to Nurse Morris. Can you share a memorable experience that impacted how you view your work?
Yes, I have a lot of memorable impactment from my job. But it's always come back to what I had said earlier, is when the acknowledgement from the patient and the acknowledgement from their family, that just gives you a different feeling. It lets you know you're doing a good job. Even if you tell yourself I'm doing a good job, to hear it from someone, especially when it's unexpected, that just gives you like a drive to just move forward.
Good, absolutely. And before we move on, let's just stay on dementia for just a second. So my second mom, she has dementia. She tends to be repetitive. How do
Yeah.
you redirect her? How do you change your views on being so repetitive?
Well, that's one of their symptoms of dementia. So what you can do is not give them a lot of options, for being retarded. Ask them questions, answer their questions. Don't like tell them like they say what time it is and you say it's 12. No, not really the time because the time changes. If they ask you what color is this and you say blue and then they come back to you again and say what color is this and you keep on saying like it's red and changing the color, you have to be on the same topic with them, on the same in the same area with them when they're asking repetitive questions and stuff like that. Also, one of the things you can do is like hang charts up, for their names because they're gonna ask you, who is this? Who am I? Where am I? And stuff like that. You can hang charts to say this is Michelle's room or this is, Carol's room, and they would know that they don't have to ask the question because they see it and they read it and they know that's where it is.
Oh, good information. So you're
Hmm.
thinking a color board or a picture board. Now, is that the
Right.
onset of dementia or at the end stage towards when it's really advanced when you do that? What would you suggest?
I think it's in the early onset. Them being forgetful.
Hmm. Good,
Yeah.
good, good stuff. Nurse Mitchell, do you have any take on that? You want to
I
piggyback on that?
agree. Yeah, I agree with Nurse Morrison. She definitely, I like those strategies with the board and even like picture charts, calendars, things like that.
Good, good stuff. Good stuff. We're learning so much about elderly care, particularly dementia on the Ask Carol Talk Show. Shay, are we having any comments or questions in the chat?
Just one right now.
Go ahead.
This was from Laurel again, and it says, how many stages of dementia are there?
I could answer.
Go ahead.
So there are four stages, and the four stages
Oh, I'm
is one,
sorry,
two,
Nurse
three, and
Mitchell.
four.
Sorry, Nurse Mitchell. Shay, while Nurse Mitchell is telling us about the stages, can you put those in the chat, please, as she tells us about the stages?
Sure.
Go ahead, Nurse Mitchell.
So I'll be brief because I don't want to quote like I'm going right off my brain, but there's four stages.
Mhm.
And so you'll notice the pattern between stage 1 to 4. 1, you start to see forgetfulness. Stage 2, the forgetfulness gets worse. Now they're driving to places and they're not knowing how they got there. But then stage 3, you start to see like appetite changes. They're eating less and need
Mm.
more cueing to eat, but then their desire to eat starts to change. And then stage 3 and 4, it's like a worsening of stage 3 now and 4, where they're like declined. They're not able to take physically care of themselves for some, where it starts impacting their motor system, their muscular system. But then in stage 4, at that point, even in 3 or 4, you'll see it really depends on the patient, but it could look different for some in stage 4. It could look like one who is, you would think, okay, they walk, they're able to go to their room, but they don't remember where their room is. But then you could have someone in stage 4 who has completely muscularly declined. And so they're not able to get out of their bed. So you'll see from stage 1, it goes simply from memory, but then when it progresses to stage 4, it could also impact their physical mobility, but then mentally, they can't even recall from their long-term memory. And then the
Wow.
short-term, long-term memory is completely impaired.
Wow. Pretty significant, pretty significant. Good stuff, good stuff. We're talking healthcare on the Ask Carol Talk Show. Nurse Morris, I'm going to toss this over to you. Have you ever faced an ethical dilemma in elderly care?
Yes. Um, every day. Every day, every day. I would say every day because, as I said before, a lot of them refuse to accept that they have issues and they see themselves as being healthy, especially the males. The males tend to be more, uh, you know, they don't accept their, especially they don't accept that they are declining. They have a medical condition. So they refuse their medication, they refuse care, and you have to just be resourceful and try to find ways to help them, to like give them the care that they need. And some of them, that are new to the facility, they get depressed, and you have to just constantly reassure them all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, it's not easy, when you're in a loving
It's
home
not
where you're
right.
supportive and then transition into a facility. It takes a toll on
Yeah,
your mental health.
it
Absolutely.
does.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Uh, Nurse Mitchell, how do you build trust and rapport with your patients, especially the elderly?
So, building trust and rapport with the elderly, you have to live up to your word. So, if you say something and you say you're going to do something, you better do it. Because if you
Hmm.
don't do it, they're going to
I'm
remember you
sorry.
didn't follow through.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Nurse Mitchell. Shay, can you pop that in the chat, please?
Hmm.
Your word is your bond. Go ahead, Nurse
Your
Mitchell.
word is your bond
Go
because
ahead.
remember, you're their caregiver in that facility. So they're going to see how reliable you are. And
Right.
so they're going to hold you to your word. And like anyone
Mhm.
should, like anyone should. But it's different, especially when they're in an environment that they didn't choose to be in, meaning I rather
Mhm.
live at home than to be here, but I need 24-hour supervision. And what building rapport looks like is not just holding your word, but showing up every day, doing
Mhm.
what you are to do, but you're doing
Mhm.
it to promote quality care, to improve their
Absolutely.
well-being. And
Absolutely. I love
and
that.
just staying sharp and being committed.
Staying sharp and being committed. Beautifully said. I love that. Nurse Morris, reveal behind the scenes the truth about your work. Do you truly, truly love your job?
I do. I do. I find pleasure in helping people. And one of the most important thing about my job and rewarding thing, like for me right now, I don't have no living grandparents. So taking care of these elderly gives me joy. And I saw some of them I accept as my grandparent. And while I was learning about the medical field, it hits home for me because my paternal grandfather, when he got older, that was a couple years ago, he passed, and when he was transitioning into dementia, we didn't know what it was at the time. So he didn't get the treatment he deserved in his last days because he was in Jamaica. A lot of people wasn't knowledgeable about the disease and stuff like that. So while I was in school and I was learning about it, I realized that those symptoms that he had was of a dementia symptoms, and I kind of feel guilty because if I had known, he would have gotten better treatment for it. And also, a lot of patients that I have the Parkinson disease, and I have learned after my grandmother passed that she had Parkinson's. So taking care of patients with Parkinson's, strokes, dementia, they hit home for me because those are symptoms and diseases that my grandparents had. So I take extra pride, extra care into providing the care that I'm supposed to because my grandparents, I wasn't there to give them what they needed when they were alive, knowing that they had that diseases.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Nurse Morris, you mentioned Parkinson. Tell us the symptoms of Parkinson disease.
Well, Parkinson's, it all depends on the stages that is in, but most of them is they're physical. They fetch they disease they tend to like uh fetches a lot, and their body just most of the time just move randomly because of the diseases.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Good stuff. Nurse Mitchell, what does good care means and what does good care looks like?
What does good care mean? It means that you care, you're compassionate, and you're competent in what you do. That's what good care looks like. It doesn't look like showing shortcuts. It's doing what you're supposed to be doing and doing it the way you were taught to do it. And
Mhm.
when I tell you, I've seen so much, but it's really, really important to provide care at a standard. And I can't stress it enough. And what that looks like is the way we go through school and they teach us this is how we should do it. That's how we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not picking a patient up who is a Hoyer. It's
Mm.
not filling a spoon up of food, filling a spoon full of food and putting it into a patient's mouth. We know that it's supposed to be only 1/3 full, so it prevents choking. So good care is it's providing that care to a standard, to a standard.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. I can tell you're so passionate about what you do. Good stuff. So quick, excuse me, let's do a quick time check. We have 5 minutes on the Ask Carol talk show. Before we go back to our chat page, Nurse Morris, what kind of training and support or education do you need to start a career in nursing?
Nursing, education wise, first you have to go to accredited school that is board certified in your state. You can earn like a diploma to be a LPN and an associate degree or a bachelor's degree for your RN. But most importantly, even if you go to those schools, you have to pass the NCLEX so you can actually practice being a nurse in your state.
Okay. That sounds pretty hard. I don't know if I could even pass that. I am just going to stick to the social service field. Good stuff. Shay, are we seeing anything in our chat before we wrap up here with the Ask Carol Talk Show?
Not right now.
Not right now. Good stuff. So, we're almost out of time on the Ask Carol Talk Show. Again, if you want to support the Ask Carol Talk Show, we need your support. Our information is in the chat, and Shay, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about our social media pages.
Hello, everybody, again. Okay, so social media. The easiest way to find us on social media is to look in the chat. All of the links for our social medias are in the chat. If you click, all you have to do is like and subscribe, and then you'll be a part of our Ask Carol family. We currently have YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you have any suggestions of like topics that you would like us to discuss, you could always send us DMs, and we do check our DMs. And we will get back with you any questions you may have, or just want to send information to us that you think we need to know. That is the best way to reach us. All of those information is in the chat.
Thank you so much, Shay. And Nurse Morris, what advice would you give for someone who wants to go into nursing, but's very hesitant? And what's your final thoughts?
Well, for someone that wants to go in nursing, do it from your heart. I know a lot of people go into nursing school because of course nursing is money. You make a lot of money being a nurse, but be compassionate. No, I'm not there yet. Being compassionate about
Changing my career.
yes. You have to be compassionate about the nursing. You have to be loving and caring and knowing that,
Okay, Julian.
it's not just for the money. You have to know that you're gonna
Yeah.
take care of the person that you're gonna be
Can
for.
talk? Yeah. Can someone mute? Go ahead, Nurse Morris. Sorry about that.
Yes, I was just saying that you have to be compassionate about being a nurse because most of the time nurses just don't get up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna be a nurse." You have to. It has to be a drive from within to know that this is what I'm destined for.
Beautiful, beautifully said. It has to be a drive from within. This is what I'm destined for. I love it. Beautifully said. Nurse Mitchell, final thoughts. And again, what encouragement would you give to our young nurses who are just starting their career? Should they hold on? Should they give up? Should they run? Should they stay in it for the money? Should they stay in it for the passion?
So what I would say is don't give up, keep going for it. And I would say give yourself at least, so me, for example, 4 years into my career, I think it was 4 years into my career, I found my love for teaching. When I started, I said, I don't want to do this. And then I was questioning myself, like, I don't know if I made the right decision. And when I first started, I was working night shift, which was not my I can't work night shift. And I was given that because I had no experience. And so getting night shift, and then I lost a lot of weight. I had a pain in the back of my head, and I just started questioning myself. Like, I don't know if I'm cut for like I'm cut for it. But then it took for someone who been through it to really coach me
Mhm.
and let me know that this is not it, like this is not the end for you. So what I say is there are so many different things you can do. It is okay when you don't like a certain area. There are so many options. So keep going, because give
Yeah.
yourself time to figure out where you want to be. And like for me, it's
Mhm.
community health and education. And I am
Mhm.
so happy I figured that out. And that's where I'm at. So give yourself time to figure out where your heart lies.
Give yourself time to figure out where your heart lies. Beautifully said. I had so much fun today on the Ask Carol Talk Show with our nurses, Nurse Morris and Nurse Mitchell. Before we say goodbye, Shay, do we have any final thoughts, any final comments or question?
No, we don't.
No, we don't. We love it. We love it. We love it. Join us next week. Guys, you don't want to miss next week. Next week, we're talking with our credit expert. What does your credit score looks like? What can you get with a low credit score? What can you achieve with no credit? What does it mean? We're going to talk with the credit expert next week on the Ask Carol Talk Show. This has been an amazing episode. I had so much fun. Thank you so much to Nurse Mitchell and Nurse Morris. Good information. Congratulations on your journey. Keep going. We
Thank you.
need more like you in this world.
Yeah.
What an amazing episode. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. So, are you ready for my rap? It's coming. Are you ready for my rap? Here we go. Now, ask Carol anything, don't hold back. Real conversations on the right track. Real impact, no fluff, just fact. It's Ask Carol, it's Ask Nurse Morris, and it's Ask Nurse Mitchell on the Ask Carol Talk Show. What's in the Ask Carol mug? It's Budweiser. Thank you again, everyone. It's been an amazing episode. Again, don't forget to join us next week. We will talk about our credit and our credit score. Good night, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.